Many who took the turn onto this road called life came across bumps, hard to manage curves, exits, amazing sights and rest areas, and many, many crossroads. Even though no journey seems to be the same because of its surroundings, interactions, people, history, culture, the essence is very similar, expressed through our feelings and, more importantly, experienced under influence of energy that surrounds us and is being increased step by step, minute by minute, until we reach full circle within. The journey continues. The journey continues. Welcome. You're listening to The Journey Continues. My name is Wilhelmina. And today we are going to have a special guest, and it's John Newton. And for over 31 years, he has been helping people all over the world with their physical and emotional well-beings. And he has been helping remove the blocks and burdens and debris from people's life and ancestral lineages, and restoring physical, emotional, and spiritual well-being. So it's very exciting. The most exciting thing is that he's also coming to Oklahoma City. The work that he does is extremely beneficial for the time that we're in. And I reached out to his assistant and scheduled an interview. And he is with me today. Hi, John. Welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to get to Oklahoma City. And I was in Tulsa last fall, I believe, and we had such a great turnout. And many people had driven, I should say, all the way from Oklahoma City. And it was really a wonderful thing. So we decided to come back and offer the group events and trainings there in the city there. So
yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, and your website, I really like the name, Help Beyond Belief. Is that something that you made up or came with, or how did that come about?
You know, I was meditating one day, and I've been doing this work for probably 25 years at the time, and I just wanted something that kind of said what it was, pointed to the work. And it really is about being beyond our beliefs, because our beliefs oftentimes limit us in our life expression, experience, ability to heal, release stress, even handle addiction, these kinds of things.
Right.
And this work is about going even deeper than our beliefs. But the health beyond belief has a double meaning, which I like.
Yes.
It's sort of like any good movie title. It says what it is, but it also pulls you in a way. It
right.
Has multiple layers.
Yeah,
so,
I really like that. Yeah, but before we're going into deep of what you're doing currently, I'd like to learn to know you a little bit more and learn the person behind the name. And can you share a little bit more about you, how you were as a child, how people knew you growing up?
Sure. Yeah, I grew up in a small town called Chapel Hill, North Carolina. I grew up in a family. We'll just say it was a broken family, and there was a lot of suffering on my end. I had quite a bit of stress and struggle through my teenage years, actually my whole life, really, until I moved away at 19. I moved to New York City to really discover acting, because I had done some plays in theater in high school and earlier, and I really enjoyed it. When I got to New York City, I started training and studying as an actor. But at the same time, I started studying different modalities of healing, of well-being, wellness, all that, nutrition, martial arts, meditation. And really the journey started there. I started helping people fairly quickly. As I found I could help myself, I wanted to help others. Mm-hmm. And I did. And I did it for free for probably about the first 20 years or 22 years, something like that. And then I started charging money. I made a living, a good living as an actor. I worked pretty solidly with film and television, but it didn't feed my soul. I really felt this deeper calling to help humanity, and as I was able to help myself, as I said, I could help others and show others how to help themselves. Mm-hmm. And so that practice really took off when I started charging, I hate to say that, but people value what they pay for in our society a lot of times.
Yeah.
And so that it really began to accelerate, and now I love it. I mean, I travel all over the world. I help lots of people. Most of the people that I work on now are remote. In other words, I can work on people over the phone and help them from a distance. So that's always convenient.
Yeah, no, I recognize everything that you say in that, because that's how I work as well. But you were saying that, because you made quick moves from when you were growing up as a child and things were not really going that well because of the broken home, and you moved to New York. What was your drive truly to become an actor or to learn more about acting?
I think probably there was some part of it was ego-based. I think some part of me probably wanted to be accepted because I didn't feel accepted as a child. I think early on I was looking for the things inside that weren't there and thought I could find them outside. And as we know from your work and from my work, but also just looking to see a lot of well-known actors, and they get all the success and they still feel empty. And they eventually, a lot of them turn to chemicals, drugs, alcohol, and other avenues to try and find something to take away their pain. My work involves addressing the root of pain directly and resolving it so that whatever shows up, it's enough, and we feel congruent with our heart. And the paradox of all that is we find more success, and we find that money flows easier, and relationships can work, and all of that blessing that I feel is available to us shows up.
Right. But as you were studying as an actor, you said there was another thing that was pulling you. And why do you think that is? What was that?
Well, the other thing was the deeper meaning of life. Why do humans suffer? Why do we get sick? Why is there so much war and fighting and conflict on the planet? None of that made sense to me as a child. And as I said, when I grew up and moved away from home, I had the resources and the time and the opportunity, being in New York City, to really start to study some of the things that can help people as opposed to the things that don't help people, because there's plenty of both out there. And I think I was driven really by that inner kind of longing. Really, it was really what I would say is my divine purpose. We all have one. And as I moved forward with the acting, the other became more and more obvious as my true path, although I didn't see initially how to make a living from it, because it just felt like I don't feel comfortable charging people money to do what I love to do. But as I got more comfortable with that, of course, I was able to see more people, treat more people, and make a good living from it.
Yeah. Why do you think that people have that they don't feel comfortable charging people? Because I have the same thing. I want to see what your opinion is about that.
I think there's a lot to do with some of the religious programming we got as children, maybe in our families, or even our ancestors. There's a kind of worthiness that comes with life. We may have some beliefs around that, receiving. But really, I feel that it has to do with, there's kind of like an underlying belief that says, well, to be spiritual, to be a holy person, wealth does not go hand in hand with that. So I think there's an underlying belief somehow that limits us, and it can affect our ability to receive. I got past that. I did some work. I used my own work to help resolve that conflict within, so that I was able to receive, and in turn, paradoxically, help more people.
Right. Yeah. It's also seeing money not as money, but more as energy, and feeling the balance and knowing that the balance is required in everything that you do, because it also has to do with self-respect, as you said too.
Sure.
I think that's something that a lot of people can benefit from hearing this too. Yeah, and so while you're in your 20s, I saw on your website that you had an awakening. Can you describe that a little bit more?
It's kind of difficult to describe, as far as I wasn't keeping a journal at the time. There were several experiences that culminated in a dark night of the soul. I had 2 or 3 of those where I just really contemplated the very meaning of existence, life, and why am I here? What is God? All of that. And there was a disillusionment, a letting go of the ego, the personality as the who I am part of me. And we're taught, or we're told, or we're shown that we're this person, we're born on this day, we live a certain amount of time, and then we die, and then possibly, depending on your beliefs, we go to purgatory, heaven, or who knows what. And it just, there was some deeper piece in me that was not okay with that as far as being the only truth. And so really that disillusionment was that. It was a letting go of everything that was physical, everything that was part of a story, everything that identified with the personality. And then I was able to experience consciousness directly. I was able to surrender to the experience of the I am that I am that's pointed to in the Old Testament quite a bit. It's a state of being. Mm-hmm. And it's really, when we don't identify with the person, the story, objects, time, space, all of that, it's what's left. And that's a big part of my work now is pointing people to that direct experience, the invitation for them to experience that part of them, the true part of them that doesn't suffer, never born, never dies, and is really pure awareness.
Right. Yeah. So when you work with people, how do you work? Can you describe your preparation, if there's any, and your time with a client? Or is that a hard question?
It depends on what they have going on.
Yeah.
It depends on what, people come to me with everything from terminal cancer to anxiety disorders to chemical addiction. Mm-hmm. And so it depends on the person. It also depends on their willingness or readiness to see and how much they can see. I don't tell people things like necessarily information about, if I have a vision or some kind of insight. I don't tell them anything, really. I create space for them to see what serves them to see. Mm-hmm. But more importantly is to resolve the past, to resolve the things that limit and haunt us, really, that live in our body, our nervous system, and affect every aspect of our lives, our perception, our beliefs, our choices, our flow of abundance, as we were talking about. All of that is affected in the work. And it's quite simple, but we have a recipe and 5 techniques that we use to help resolve that past burden or sin or tikkun or karma. You can call it whatever you want. Mm-hmm. But it really is helping people get their lives back and to move forward with more free will, if you could call it that. That's a nice term that I like to use.
Right. And you were mentioning that you receive visions every now and then, also when you're communicating with clients. How do you receive your information further than that? Is there also?
Yeah, I don't even like to use the word visions because it implies woo-woo, and there's I do so much work in hospitals with doctors and places like that, so I like to stick to the science. Mm-hmm. But I will say that we're all intuitive, and it's like a muscle. The more we use it, the more it develops. Right. The more we clear doubt and fear around it, the more it develops as well. So we really use that. It's almost a knowing. It's like when we meet someone who maybe we get a kind of a contracted feeling inside. They're probably not a nice person, or they don't serve us to get involved with them, right? And it's kind of like that. And so as I'm working with people, I get a good amount of intelligence that comes through. Mm-hmm. And we use that in the sessions, in the work, in the group events, because I feel that intelligence is available to all of us. Right. And when we tune in and listen, it really does lead, guide, and direct us in our lives. Mm-hmm. And, I make a joke. I say that the cheapest divorce attorney on the planet is your heart. because it won't let you get into that unhealthy relationship if you listen to it.
Yeah. You don't look for completeness because you find it inside of yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that's really really clear to me, and I really like hearing you share your perspectives on things. And the woo that you just said was pretty funny. I understand, that you're working with different people as well, and that's kind of a shame that not everybody is open and willing to leave their hearts open, no matter how one communicates about certain things. But when you were starting to deepen your knowledge about all of this, what you're doing right now, did you follow any workshops, or did you study other things, or was it purely the universal knowledge that's just coming through you?
Well, I would say probably the first third of my journey was acquiring knowledge, looking under rocks, studying with every person I felt had some salt that was offered that felt, helpful. I did a lot of workshops, retreats. I read hundreds, if not thousands, of books.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to empower myself with the best possible tools in the toolbox that could help people. Around the awakening time and maybe a little after that even, I began to empty. And so I don't really read. I don't do anything as far as acquiring. My job is to get out of the way, to help people to allow that higher intelligence, like you were saying, and to not come from anything known, because often the unknown and being in the unknown allows a higher flow of intelligence beyond what I could learn or beyond what the mind could even hold on to.
Absolutely. I'm glad that you're saying that. Because that's something I always say as well. And for me, when I started to open up in 1999, I stopped reading. So for me, it was everything that I received was truly the universal knowledge. And that's when you become really in awe of what's out there. You cannot even comprehend it with our brains, no matter how intelligent you are. There's far more knowledge out there. So I totally agree with you. Yeah, well, we're going to go and take a little break and listen to some music, and then come back and continue our conversation.
Excellent.
Wilhelmina McKittrick is an energy redirector guiding humanity through their ultimate challenges that are preventing them to reach full circle within, to become one with all that is. Wilhelmina works internationally with people as their personal light coach to help them reach a deeper understanding about their inner self, life, and the energy changes within the new world. In contact with her higher self and guidance, she reached and has reached depths and truths without boundaries. Her voice, books, paintings, and light wands carry and radiate the light and powers that will guide you to the choices of your own heart. Listen bi-weekly on Wednesdays to Wilhelmina's English show. This is a show with prominent guests and information about the ascension, the grid, self-awareness. Read about this and her Dutch radio shows on her website, www.xsist.org. That's www.xsist.org.
All right, welcome back. You're listening to The Journey Continues. My name is Wilhelmina McKittrick, and I'm in conversation with John Newton. And we have been talking about his life and his perspective on life and his work. And he's coming to Oklahoma City. I asked some people if they have any questions, then they can send it to me. And I received a few questions. Some of them we already talked about. And let me see here that one lady was asking, I would like to know where or how he learned his techniques. Was it gifted to him, or did he have a teacher? I just asked that before the break, so we can kind of skip that unless you have something to add to that, John.
Sure. A lot of it was developing my own process. Everything shifted about 22 years ago when I met someone named Howard Wills. I learned the forgiveness portion of my practice, which I would say is about 80%, believe it or not. It's a lot of the practice. It's evolved in the last 20 years and shifted to suit how I offer what I offer. But Howard's pioneering forgiveness work was definitely, I would say, the biggest influence in my life. And, he was the first true miracle worker I'd ever met. Mm-hmm. And integrating that into the practice, now what I would have termed miracles then are just normal, and I see them all the time. I kind of take them for granted because it's so sweet how the infinite coming through and releasing the past can show up sometimes in seconds where people notice a shift. And I see it so often now, I kind of just feel like it's normal.
Yeah.
Whereas it was miraculous when I first saw it, for sure.
Yeah, yeah, and it's and not. I think it all has to do with the time that we're in, because things have accelerated tremendously in the past few years. If I look at the beginning too, things went much slower. The way people were adapting to new knowledge and accepting change within. Now it's just like I always say snap, 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 and it happens, and people are ready and open for it. So that's why I think it's very exciting times that we're in. 2017. How do you see this year, 2017?
Well, what I see is the bright's getting brighter and the dark's getting darker. We're seeing almost like a disparity. In other words, wherever we're headed, we're going to get there faster. If we're headed toward hell, we're going to get to hell faster. It seems to be. And it's a blessing in a way, because I feel like it's going to help more people to wake up and question reality, question the status quo of, we have a certain life, we make a certain amount of money, and then we die. It just doesn't make sense to me. However, I understand why some people are not interested in waking up. I understand some people are not interested in ending suffering or searching at all, and that's perfect. There's nothing wrong with them, for sure, and I feel everybody gets what they need. But I would love to see more people just open to contributing to what I like to call, what we hear about, heaven on earth, because I do feel it's possible. Yeah. I feel that it's here. Everything's here in the mind or consciousness of the Creator. If we don't experience it, then the limitation's on our end. Yeah. And so, I would love to have more people. The more people that are doing this kind of work, not just this work, your work, other good work, the more we'll see a rapid shift, and more of that kind of energy will be available in that consensus reality, if you will.
Yeah, to more stimulate and invite people to use their full potential instead of just, being sheep and walking without thinking and acting without thinking. Yeah, I understand what you're saying with that. And there's a lot of new beginnings this year I've seen around me, and there's a lot of things happening also on the darker end, as you said, and it's only getting stronger and stronger. It almost seems like both ends are being fed, and I do believe that that's done on purpose, because that's the only way that humanity will stop and think and turn things around. We always have to hit rock bottom before we truly wake up. And that's a shame in a way, but that's the way it has been. And
but we can determine what rock bottom is for us. I always feel that. Like, it doesn't have to be all is lost. It can be when we decide this is enough here. Right. This moment is when I turn and shift into awakening. Yeah. It's like we move toward the sun or away from the sun. Yeah. Eventually we get far enough from the sun that we get cold enough from the sun that we start to go, wait a minute, I forgot, I need to move toward the sun. Mm-hmm. And everybody's on a different path of that orbit or trajectory. Some have just left, and they're maybe going more into Maya or illusion or superficial existence, and they're just getting hungry again. They're building up their appetite so they can enjoy the meal when they come back home again. There's nothing wrong with that experience either. It's just not where I am.
Right. Yeah. Let me go back to the questions here. One lady was sending a question to another lady, and she was paraphrasing. One of your goals is to help end individual suffering and even impact global suffering. How does your work impact global suffering?
Well, it starts with us. We're not responsible for anyone else, as we know. But the more that we wake up, the more that we handle, the more we raise our frequency, the more we're emanating that on the planet. If enough of us are doing that, as I said, it starts to anchor that in as more possibility for others. It's like those in the metaphysical, spiritual, cutting-edge religious paths over the years have led that wave. They were on that cutting edge, and then showing others that came after them, once you make a path, the path is there, and it's quite simple. And eventually, of course, we get to the path of no path, but sometimes we need to be guided back to the truth, especially if we've been lost for quite a while. And so we can also work with world leaders. We've worked with several high-level political figures and people like that. So obviously, a lot of celebrities. I lived in Los Angeles for 25 years, and so anyone who has the microphone, anyone that people look up to, anyone that's making decisions, when they can wake up and resolve their conflict within and show up fully as a human, I feel that it's only a blessing for others to see that. So there's many ways we can do it, but really it's just starting with ourselves, because they say, be the change you want to see. It's really like that. There's kind of a cosmic perception that we can have, that we see that reality, physical reality, is a reflection of what we carry, and there's infinite versions of physical reality. It's not just one earth, one heaven, one hell. I feel it's infinite. I mean, what does the all that is mean? It means all that is. So anything you can imagine exists somewhere, somewhen.
Right, yeah. What you believe is what you perceive. So if you truly believe and can feel the all that is, it's endless. And that's the fascinating part of it, for me at least. But I'm sure for many people too. Yeah. Another lady was asking, I understand you worked at Betty Ford Clinic for a number of years. How does your work help those with addictions?
We love helping people with addiction. Let me preface that by saying we love helping people that want help with addiction. Sometimes people who have chemical, alcohol, opiate dependency, these kinds of things, they have what's called a forced wake-up. Maybe they get we call it DUI, or driving while impaired, or they get a court order that they have to go to rehab or something like that. And I've often seen that it's not as effective as if someone found it on their own. Someone discovered it because, like you said earlier, they hit rock bottom and they're ready to do the work. Because with addiction, it requires work. It doesn't mean it's pointless work. It means it's what we get out of it is what we put into it. And with addiction, we work on the carrot and the stick. So we want to handle and clear the painful experiences that created the pattern of addiction to begin with. We also want to handle the actual cravings for the substance or the behavior or whatever's driving the addiction. And there's many ways to do this. We have many techniques that we work with addicts and love to help and support them. In the 12-step recovery world, it's a disease. It's never cured. It's something that's only treated. I don't speak out against that because it would be kind of almost like blasphemy. Because I enjoy working in those facilities, and some people consider that dangerous thinking, because someone could theoretically think, oh, well, I can handle crack cocaine again, I'm going to have a little bit, right? And then they go off on a tangent and they maybe don't survive. So we don't speak out loud around anything to do with beliefs about how addiction works and all of that. We just help people that want help.
Right. And when you help them, I saw that you don't use any physical contact.
No.
Is it verbal, or is it also energetically that you're working?
Oh, it's all energy, but sometimes verbal as well. We have access to the energy through the verbal. In that way, through what we call forgiveness prayers. There's also other techniques that we use to help resolve the past, to help people wake up and move forward in a way that the addiction doesn't have power over them any longer.
Right.
A big part of recovery is connecting to a higher power of their understanding, and so we help people have that direct experience as opposed to just an image or concept of the Creator. We want people to have that feeling of the Creator, that direct connection, as we said, because that's much more powerful than a concept.
Right, yeah. There was another question, but I think you already partly answered that. This person said, you say there is a 5-part recipe you use to facilitate helping people clear their issues, but you also bring in a very powerful energy field during the ancestral clearing sessions. Are you able to teach participants in the training how to do that? That's somebody that wants to come to your training here in Oklahoma City and was curious about that.
Sure. Yeah, I feel any good technique or any good modality is repeatable and it's teachable. If someone says, well, I have a special gift and you don't have it and you got to come to me and pay me and no one else can do what I do, I'm suspicious of that. I'm not even actually interested in it.
Right.
Because it sounds arrogant because I don't feel like anyone's special. I feel like, as they say in Course in Miracles, we're all special and no one is special.
Right.
And so a big part of my practice is to teach anyone who's really truly interested and wants to help themselves, wants to help their community, their clients or patients if they're a doctor or therapist. We've had many doctors, therapists take the training and their whole practice shifts in such a beautiful way. And another nice side effect of the training that we teach is that they don't take stuff on. People don't realize, like when we have sex with someone, when we marry them, when we treat them, when we give advice, when we massage them, we can be taking stuff on and we don't realize it. Mm-hmm. So one of the beautiful side effects of the training is teaching them those resources to know that they don't have to take stuff on to help somebody.
Right. Yeah, the thing is, people don't respect or have enough self-worth, and that's why they're open to take upon those things. And it's something that has happened in many, many lifetimes before this as well, and it stays in your essence. At least that's my belief. I don't know how you see that, but people are not even aware of it. And it's really important in these times of change and transformation for people to become aware of what has been accumulated in their essence and to release it. That's why I'm really happy that you're coming to Oklahoma City here and to help out people, to have them clear, ancestral, I almost want to say bonds, but it's just very important that people even start to realize, first of all, that this is within their essence, and that's a good beginning to get moving further on a different level that they haven't even touched ever, Anyways. And John, I wanted to ask you about forgiveness, because you told me that was a very important part of your kind of life that made you shift to a different perspective. Spirit told me a long time ago, forgive yourself, then forgive others. And I thought, why do I have to forgive myself? There's nothing that I need to forgive myself for, And then I gave it a chance to sink in and start to truly feel what's all in there, within me. Can you explain to the listeners and to me, how do you see forgiveness?
Well, forgiveness, I don't speak about forgiveness a lot. Like, you won't see it. It's not in the title of what when I talk about what I do is ancestral clearing, which involves our ancestors, our family, everything that's come before us that's measurable and in our DNA as far as limitation or factors that can contribute to lack of well-being, we'll say. But forgiveness at the behind-the-scenes level is a huge part of the work. And forgiveness, when you speak about forgiveness, most people put it in a box. Oh, I know what that is. I've done it, or I don't have anyone to forgive, or they don't deserve my forgiveness, or whatever our preconceived notion is. This is not that. This is not your father's forgiveness. Mm-hmm. This is, forgiveness means to forego. It means to offer up. So with the forgiveness work that I do, it's connecting to a higher power of our understanding. And if you don't have one, it still works. And I love that. It involves using the word forgiveness and also humility and gratitude. All of those combined make that recipe that we were talking about that really helps to resolve things that maybe seemed unresolvable. And especially if we're just dealing with the symptom level of things, we know that that's not necessarily the full approach that we need. So as we clear the roots of the things that lead to dis-ease and imbalance in the body, as we said before, our bodies can sometimes notice radical shifts, sometimes in seconds, oftentimes in seconds, actually. And so that's what we do. But again, the wording of it could be a little misleading because people think it means, I have to write a letter or I have to do something else. It's really asking the Creator for help. Mm-hmm. And it's a sweet, beautiful, simple, repeatable, teachable formula, if you will.
Right. Yeah. So the ancestral clearing that you're going to be teaching here in Oklahoma City as well, can you share in short what does it entail?
Well, it's kind of like what I was describing with the four ingredients. We use those ingredients and we offer up. We identify where in the body we feel what we feel, and let's say it's a physical, something simple like migraines or backache or something, that's quite simple. It's very obvious. And sometimes most people come to me with more emotional concerns, phobias, lack of abundance, painful relationships, stress at work, or injustice of some kind. And so we isolate where they feel it in their body. Mm-hmm. And we start to use that intelligence of sensation in the body, and we utilize that, and we incorporate that in. We fold it in with the forgiveness and accessing our higher power. And it's just a beautiful recipe, as we said, for resolving what it is that we carry.
Yeah. Have you experienced a lot of emotional outbursts during that process?
You think? Well, it depends on what you say as emotional outburst. I've probably worked with between 45,000 people. I can count on my fingers where I've had someone like scream out loud,
Oh,
or
really? Okay.
Something like that.
Mm-hmm.
This is a very internal process.
Mm-hmm.
Punching a pillow, screaming into a pillow, those are different modalities that I don't practice. Mm-hmm. This involves going much deeper than the tantrums or sob story. In fact, it's what's beneath the story is what sets us free. Right. The story often feeds the problem. It's adding firewood to a fire that we want to burn out. And we've told our story, most of us, for 20, 30 years or more, and if it was going to work, it would have worked by now. So one of the big pieces I do is just guide people back to the story down to a sentence or less, and then let's see where we feel it, and then we begin using the tools to clean it up out of the body. It's not about positive thinking, because to me the thoughts come from what we carry already, come from what we carry in the nervous system, in the musculo-physical representation of the body, the physical body. And so if we don't address that, no amount of positive thinking is going to clean what's deeper beneath the surface up.
Right, it's just lying to yourself, or just, putting
exactly.
front up or whatever, yeah.
Yes. But if someone wants to do positive thinking, I feel it's better to at least handle some of the shadow first, and then the positive thinking can stick because it's reflecting what you already feel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. So, when you do clearings, is that in a group or setting, or is that one-on-one?
Oh no, we do group settings. We do. I offer a weekly call series, and every month we do a free call, mm-hmm. And we have one coming up Saturday, the 1st of May, that if anyone's interested, they're welcome to go on the website and sign up for it. It's free. We work on 1,000 or more people at the same time, mm-hmm. on the calls. And what's really fascinating is people listen to the replay because they're in Austria or New Zealand and they can't be on live, and they get just as deep an experience from the replay.
Absolutely. And
I love that source intelligence is everywhere, everywhere. And the calls, it's not about me. I don't claim to I don't call myself a healer. I don't claim to do healing. It's really that infinite source or creator that does that work, or God if you're religious. That's who's doing the work. Mm-hmm. I just kind of ask humbly and gratefully.
Yeah, you're a part of the process. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's really nice. And well, nice is not even the word. It's funny because when I express myself, I say sometimes cool, but the depth of it, you cannot even touch cool, or But I really like what I'm hearing. What you're going to do in Oklahoma City, you're going to also give some live group events. Can you share a little bit more about that? What people can expect here?
Sure. We have kind of like an intro event. Now, when I say intro event, it doesn't mean I just talk about the work. You get real experience at those intro events. We offer, as you said, you were asking about the group clearings. We offer that. And people also raise their hands, and we work with individuals as time permits, addressing specific issues with people one-on-one. And that's really what the events are. We start off with a topic. Usually, if it's an intro event, the topic's going to be about this practice. It's going to be about forgiveness and getting our life back and resolving the past, moving forward, that kind of thing. And then as we go deeper into the events, farther into the week, and including Friday evening, the topics get more specific. We share more specific knowledge. I feel that insights, knowledge, and all of that can help us to rewire the brain, because the brain gets hijacked by this chronic stress and pain and other things that have happened that have gone unresolved for so long. The mind starts to expect negativity. It starts to expect being let down. It starts to expect limitation and these kinds of things. So we find a big part of the practice is to help the brain to rewire, take advantage of the neuroplasticity that it has, and because that goes hand in hand with clearing the past and can only help us, because the mind is part of our instrument in life. We need it, we use it, and we want to make sure it's in its rightful place and functioning fully.
Yeah. Right. So as you were talking, I was thinking about some clients that you have had in the past, without naming them, obviously. I was wondering if you could share maybe the most remarkable experience that you have had with them.
Oh,
or with one of them.
I couldn't even begin. There's thousands. I mean, we helped this Persian kid in the hospital. Someone asked me to go work on him because they were unplugging him because he had no brain activity that would measurable brain activity. There was none of it that would indicate that he could ever survive or come back or have so they were going to unplug him. And they said, would you come and bless our son? And this is a friend of the family. So I went over there, and he starts moving his legs and arms a little bit, and the doctor comes by and says, they do that sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
And we worked on it for maybe 20 minutes, half hour, I don't remember. And it's been a few years, it's been several years actually, I don't remember exactly. I think I might have gone back one more time. Like they unplugged him, he was still alive, he hadn't passed yet. And they said, would you come back again? We feel like what you did helped. I came back again. No big deal.
Mm-hmm.
And about a month later, I forget about it. I work on so many people, I just forget about who you work on. And about a month later, I ran into the family friend at a restaurant, and he said, I've been meaning to call you. I won't say his name. So-and-so's out of his coma. He's perfectly normal.
Wow.
And so I was thinking, wouldn't that be something you'd want to call and
I know.
Ask, like the parents. I never heard from the parents.
Wow.
It was just a family friend. Because a lot of this stuff is too much for the mind.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't feel possible, so it almost feels like a dream.
Right.
And we can get into that, but we don't have time. There's a whole aspect of that I could get into. Many things. Major League Baseball players that could throw the ball again. The pitchers that their arm was shredded. Working with police officers who've had massive trauma, and just so many different walks of life. I mean, I've worked with Academy Award winners, and I don't name names. The only couple celebrities I've ever named were the ones that came out in public, and like the Kardashian. I can't say I worked on more than one, but and I'm not sure that. And I'm not saying that should impress you, by the way.
Yeah, I
I'm just
understand.
telling you, that they came out and that they shared they were affected deeply and with the physical stuff that we worked on, but so many experiences. I had one where I was working with a Catholic priest. I grew up Catholic, and I found it quite fascinating that he was even open to the work, but he'd had this chronic leg pain for probably 25 years, 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
And what was fascinating about this session is oftentimes we have a specific technique that we use that early experiences will come in, and sometimes there are other lives that I'm not saying that there are past lives for those that don't believe, but I'm open to whatever helps people.
Mm-hmm.
So the point is this priest had this very vivid and intense memory of being on a battlefield. He'd gotten an arrow in his leg, and he was dying on this battlefield, and we cleaned it up. We did our magical stuff that we do, and his leg pain was gone, and he came out of it, and he was a little bit spooked out because this is not someone who believed in past lives or anything.
Yeah.
And he had to deal with that, so that was kind of fun for me.
Yeah, I hear you. I was also raised Catholic, but I was raised Catholic in the Netherlands, and I learned that that's more like Christian. So it's because Catholic here is known more as strict, very strict, right?
They can be. Traditionally, we're not really encouraged to go and read the Bible. Not that we can't. And I say we, I'm not Catholic so much anymore, but as opposed to Christians where it's more studying the Bible and interpreting Scripture and all that. With the church, it's the priest does that more so.
Oh, okay.
And and I don't know if it's like that in the Netherlands.
No,
but
that's the same. I never studied any Bibles, but I was. I guess it's similar to that then. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, I understand. So, what do you feel is one of your major lessons in life? I'm kind of jumping to something else, but I like.
Yeah, you mean that that I've already integrated, or
Yeah.
if I had a lesson that I needed to integrate, I would have already integrated it.
Right.
The challenge of that would be if there's something that I don't see or don't get, then I wouldn't be able to address it because I wouldn't know that it's there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a big part of my work, is helping people discover what's really there, because I do feel the truth sets us free.
Yeah.
But going back in my life, I would say, what lesson did I not need to learn and integrate? You know, I was not a good child. I was not a good person until my, when I left home and I started working on myself, because I came from so much internal pain. I didn't really understand any other way than to see the world a certain way. And I think, humility is a big one. If someone tells you they're humble, then that's a problem. For me, really letting go of the small I in service to the big I was really the biggest piece, I'd have to say, in my life. And that's truly that statement, letting go, letting God. Mm-hmm. And I love that my work doesn't require any specific religious belief. I love everyone in whatever their beliefs are, Christian, Muslim, Hindu,
Right.
Jewish.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, because if you follow all traditions back to the root, if you follow them all back before they were interpreted by humans, we find there's probably a core of truth that resides in all of them.
Yeah.
And that's one of my frustrations, is that people kill each other on this planet in the name of their God. And in reality, if we could uncover all the mess, we would see that we're all brothers and sisters. We all came from the same womb, as it were, and the same 12 tribes. And it's really quite silly what we do.
It flabbergasts me, really, how people can be so ignorant, but seem to be very intelligent people when you hear them talk, and you think, seriously? And there's no end to that, and that's the way, I had to step back and be patient with those kind of things and let it go. And not trying to understand, because there's a reason for everything, and we cannot always understand that. But
well, there's definitely, the more you do this work, the more you see there's physics to all behavior, beliefs. It's
Right.
not coming from something random. It's a lot of it's the hand we were dealt in the womb. We had a predefined, preformed DNA that our soul came into, and it had already loads of burden and unresolved stress, and we'll say karma. I don't like to say that because it's not very Christian sounding, and I know Oklahoma, the majority of people there are Christian, so I don't like to use those terms. But we came in with a stacked deck against us, and it gave us a lot to overcome. But the slippery part of it is that we can get sucked into it and believe that it's real, and then of course it is real for us. And that's the challenge, and that's why people don't like to talk about, don't ever talk about politics, don't ever talk about religion, don't ever talk about, because people's opinions are so deep, and they will defend them with their life for some odd reason.
Yeah.
And I know why, but it's quite interesting how that works.
Right, how they just drop all the intelligence and just still go and continue with one certain monologue. Yeah. DNA, you mentioned really briefly. Do you believe that we can alter our DNA?
100%. The DNA that's, well, let's just say this: if our DNA can be altered, how could it not be possible to unalter it? And what I refer to mostly is the epigenomic attachments, which we hear as a buzzword in the last 10 years or so. It's gotten more popular. But I do feel this work is addressing that, these attachments to the DNA that can store adversity, limitation, trauma, and such, and can skip generations. That means Holocaust, slavery, wars. All this stuff could be in us, creating stress. And if we don't resolve it, it's going to continue on its way. And so that's a big part of the work,
Right.
is to resolve that. We have some doctors in a couple of different doctors. They're not in the United States. They're overseas. One's in England, and they're they're a DNA epigenome specialist, and they're working on some peer-reviewed studies with this work specifically to see the marked differences between people.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
Before and after they've done some of the work. So we'll publish that. We'll post that rather after they publish it.
Right.
Good to see that.
That will be good, and that will accelerate things. That's really good to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you want to leave us with?
Well, I would love to leave you with a direct experience of this work, if you're open to it. So, what I would maybe ask is, isolate something that you'd like help with.
Okay.
So, it could be something physical, it could be something emotional, it could be something stressful. This is not a claim to treat any psychological issue or medical issue. That's for trained professionals. We're just addressing the spiritual factors, causes, relationship beneath the surface in a very non-invasive way.
Right. So you're asking me to focus on something physical or emotional,
I was actually offering it to everybody who's listening. If they want to participate, you are absolutely included in that. So we could work just with something maybe you have. That'd be fine if you want to have some direct experience. But we could also include everyone listening if they would like to have that.
Yeah. No, that's fine. Either way is fine with me. Yeah. Go
So,
ahead.
Yeah. So just notice something that you would like to work on, and notice where you feel it in your body. There's a place inside, as we said, if it's back pain or shoulder pain or something like that, that's fairly obvious, and that's fine. We don't want to pick more than one, because humans tend to go into overwhelm, and when we go into overwhelm, nothing gets handled. So we can isolate one after the other in quick fashion, but for this moment, let's just pick one. And it could be maybe a painful relationship. It could be someone that we're holding a grudge toward from the past. Maybe someone who wronged us. Maybe some injustice. So as you consider that person, issue, event, notice where you feel it. There's a place inside the body that doesn't feel good. So we want to just notice that. And if it's the back or head or shoulder, that's fine. Just get a 0 to 10 of the discomfort level. 10 is extreme. And 0 would be none at all. So obviously we'd like to pick something that we feel measurably 3 to 10 and just notice what you feel in the body. There may be a story around it, but keep your attention on the sensations as opposed to the story about it. We don't even like to stay with the word pain because it's a judgment, and it actually feeds it. What is the sensation of the discomfort? Is it heat, pressure, pulling, vibration? Whatever it is, just notice it. For extra credit, you can breathe into the sensation. Just breathing awareness into what doesn't feel good, not as a judgment, but as a surrender. I'm going to work silently using forgiveness prayers. I'm going to use the word God, so that will cover most people's beliefs. And we'll check back in with you in about maybe a minute or less. We're going to do this silently. Just notice your body. Here we go. If you've just come on and you're hearing silence, the radio station isn't down. We're just working with some silent pieces in the background, some of the old hurts that maybe we carry. I'm going to continue for about 10 more seconds, just noticing your body. Feeling is okay. It's actually good to feel. It's good to be in our body. It's good to transcend the mind from time to time and just be aware with the breath, sensation. And here we go. Just give me another few seconds. Now you just notice and just see how that feels. Not as a judgment, you're just assessing, you're witnessing, you're observing. Judgment is really the core of human suffering, and we have free will. However, most of our ancestors did not use that free will as wisely as they could, so some bad habits have developed over the ages, but it doesn't mean they have to keep going. So every time we transcend judgment, every time we let go, let God, every time we surrender, every time we allow the breath, sensation, the present moment to bubble up and rise into our awareness, it's a blessing for you. It's also a blessing for humanity. So, thank you for having me on as your guest. I'm very excited about coming to Oklahoma City. I hope you can make it as my guest to an event or two if you can.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. It was really really great to have you as a guest and hear you share about your life and your work. Do you want to share a little bit more about the dates and places that you are going to be? Do you have that handy, or is that something that they can just look up on your website?
Well, they can look it up on the website. Let me get that up for you as well, just as convenience. The website is Health Beyond Belief, HEALTH, beyondbelief.com, and all the events are there. We have many coming up, but specifically the Oklahoma City events are coming up fairly soon, I believe, when is it? May 4th to the 7th. So, yes, only a few weeks away, maybe a little more than 2 weeks away. Yeah. We have the first event is on a Wednesday night, and I believe it's at the Unity Church. I don't have that on here yet, which I should, or do I? Let me see. We'll have that corrected on the website by the time this airs. We'll fix it today.
Okay.
We should have that up here. But we have group events, and we have a group intensive on Friday. Those are all held at the Radiant Living Center. Mm-hmm. The events before that is Thursday, May 4th, 7:30 to 9, and that's at it is at the Unity. I'm sorry, I'm thinking about Florida. There's not a lot of left brain in my world because I'm so much in the moment and in the right brain that I don't. Yes, it's at the Unity Spiritual Life Center on 41st Street in Oklahoma City. So that's Thursday night, and it's a love offering. So suggested donation, I think they said it's $25, but you whatever you feel like donating, it's going to their church. If you would like to join us for that, just to see what the work's about, and then of course we have the other events and the training on the weekend.
Right. Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing and being. I really appreciate you, and I'm really happy that I got to know you through this interview. And I wish you the best. And also, when you are here in Oklahoma, I hope that there's no storms. That's just joking.
I don't mind storms. I just hope that my plane gets in on time, because I've had that happen before with events where I have to fly in and then there's a big snowstorm. But we're past the snow, so hopefully we'll be okay.
Yeah, no, this is just our storm seasons more, in spring. So I was just joking, because when I learned about Oklahoma and my husband was proposing to go and live in Oklahoma, I thought, hell no. But
I understand.
Then I gave it a chance, and I felt, and it was, it became my home. But it was kind of a bad joke, I guess. But thank you very much for your time again, and until we meet again, much love to you.
Yes, bless you and your work. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed it. Bless you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
That was John Newton. It was great to have him in the show and have him share about his future events and his life. And it's very exciting for people here in Oklahoma that they can be a part of the ancestral clearing. For now, I want to wish you the best, and make sure that you keep focusing on what's truly important. Embrace yourself, and I will be working also more at Radiant Living in Oklahoma City. And if you are interested in any workshops or one-on-one sessions, just give me a call or an email or text. And you can find my information on www.xsist.org, xsist.org, or my full name, wilhelminamckittrick.com. Until we meet again, much love to you. Bye-bye. Many who took the turn onto this road called life came across bumps, hard to manage curves, exits, amazing sights and rest areas, and many, many crossroads. Even though no journey seems to be the same because of its surroundings, interactions, people, history, culture, the essence is very similar, expressed through our feelings and, more importantly, experienced under influence of energy that surrounds us and is being increased step by step, minute by minute, until we reach full circle within. The journey continues.